Well, hello, and welcome to the Art Money Success Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Brophy, and today we're going to talk about how to make consigning your art work for you. Now, in my last podcast, I talked about how consigning art to a retailer can kill your art business. And that is true in many instances. But there are ways to make it work for you, there are ways to keep control of it. And so I'm going to share some of that with you today. Now I'm going to give you an example. The most recent thing that we did that we consigned Drew's art, it was to a cute little store in Encinitas, California last summer. And what we did was we put some art prints in their store. And those art prints cost us about $150 to have printed. And then, you got to get them there. The store is about 35 or 40 minutes away from us. And I normally don't do consignment, but in this case, I did for different reasons. We knew the people, and it was originally for some kind of charity thing, and then it grew into the store wanting to carry Drew's art prints. The people at the store are super nice, and they're lovely people. The store is really nice. But here's the problem with consigning with most stores, including this one, is that a retail store, they're buying all their other product. They don't do much consignment. They're not set up with a system for consignment. So every time they've sold Drew's art prints, they've forgotten to tell us that they owe us money and that we needed to bring more. And it's only when I check in every couple of months where they say, "Oh yeah, last month we sold 3 prints." Well, you owe me money. Then I send them an invoice, and it might be a couple months before I get paid. As you can see, that opens the door to a lot of problems. When you lose money, when your inventory isn't moving, or when it's moving but you're not getting paid for it, because time is money. The other thing is it's so much effort that I have to keep checking in, and I have to drive down there, and I have to remind them that they owe me money. So there are better things to do with my time that will grow my business. However, I know that there are artists out there where the only opportunity you have to sell your art is through retail stores, and they insist on consignment. So what can you do to make it work for you? Well, the first thing is you want to do consignment with locations that are close to you. You don't want to do it all the way across the country if it's your first time, or if you don't know anything about the store, because you got to pay to ship stuff there. And then how do you go and check in on it? It becomes a lot of work to keep track. So if you can do things that are closer to home and it's easy for you to check in, that's the way to do it. The second thing is you don't want to over invest in the beginning when you don't know how something's going to work. And what does that look like? Well, let's say a store wants to carry a bunch of your product, and now you have to pay to get all this product made. And you might be putting out a few $1,000s, but they have no obligation to put it in the best spot in the store. They have no obligation to sell it. They have no obligation really to even keep it safe for you. You might want to limit what you put in there, or say to your contact at the store, "Hey, I'd love to give you my best stuff. I think if we do a complete line of my prints or my product, it would be great, but I do need you to invest a little bit of money on your end so you have some skin in the game, and so it takes the pressure off of me, because I'm not a bank. So I can't loan. This is like loaning money to a store, and you're not a bank, not unless you really own a bank, and I'm sure most of you do not. So that is one way you could deal with it, is have the store kick in some money, okay? Or just don't overinvest. Just put in the store what you can afford to put in there. The only problem with that is if you do kind of a weak display, you might get weak sales. The next thing you can do to try to make it work is you can say, look, my business model is to not do things on consignment, but why don't we do this? Why don't I provide you with some of my best product, and we'll reassess it in 30 days. And whatever isn't selling, I can exchange for something else. So that way you're working with them, you're making it easier for them, and they are still responsible to pay for it. So they are going to do their best to put it in a location where it's displayed properly so it'll sell well. You could also do a 30-day trial. You can say, look, we can do this on consignment for 30 days. Let's see how it goes. You go in there in 30 days, see what's sold. If they haven't done a very good job of selling it, or for whatever reason the product's not selling, then you take it back and you call it a day. Or if things are moving, then you can bring more product. And at that time, you can have a conversation and say, look, since we know it's selling, let's get off of this consignment program because this really doesn't work as a business model for me. When you do consignment, make sure you have a consignment agreement. And that agreement basically states when they have to pay you. So you could say you have to pay me within 10 days of the sale. Or it also would state who pays for shipping if shipping's involved. It would also state if there's a late fee, if they don't pay you within the time they're supposed to pay you. And it also can make them responsible should your product get stolen, go missing, or get damaged. They still have to pay you for it. And I think that's reasonable, because it's not fair if you have to eat it all. And if they are responsible, it just makes them keep a better eye on things. Let's see what else is in my notes here. So really, I just want you to get in the habit of paying attention to the numbers. When you're putting work on consignment, I want you to write out what it costs you in materials and product, and what it's costing you in your time, your personal time, to keep track of it. This is really important. You might find out that you're putting in a lot of time to track your work on consignment, and you're making very little profit from it. And, it's important to look at these things, because sometimes if we don't look at the numbers, sometimes we're losing money for months, and even years. And we can't figure out why we can't get ahead with our business, or why we failed at the art business. And it always comes down to the numbers: your profit, your cash flow, your income. That's what it comes down to, whether you're going to make it or break it. And like I always say, the only way you can have a successful art business is if you have sales, cash flow, and profit. I hope this gave you something to think about today. And if you didn't hear my other 3 podcasts on consignment, please go back and listen to them. And my next podcast will be, how much should you charge for putting your art on consignment? How much money should you do? A 50-50 split, a 60-40 split, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to talk about that next. So stay tuned. Thanks, and have a great day. And hey, if you got anything out of this, please leave a comment, hit subscribe, leave me a review, whatever it is, whatever platform you're listening on. Show me some love. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.